You're going to love this interview. Just got done editing it. I'm glad I got it live for you. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes hanging out, answering any questions you have. In fact, leave a comment below about data points or what you think is going to happen to the company, and I will respond to every comment. Additionally, if you're just loving the content, click the thumbs up and I will go and check out your profile as well and give your videos some love as well. In the meantime, enjoy the interview. Hello, everyone. My guest today is Ray Rothrock. He joined Redseal as CEO in February of 2014. It's a cyber risk modeling company. Prior to Redseal, he was a general partner at Venrock, one of Redseal's founding investors. At Venrock, he invested in 53 companies, including over a dozen in cybersecurity. He's on the board of Checkpoint Software Technology, an original Venrock investment, and Team 8, both Tel Aviv-based companies. All right, Ray, you ready to take us to the top?
Yes, sir, Nathan. Let's go.
All right. So let's first touch on Redseal for people that missed your first episode in terms of what you do. And then I want to touch on the virus and how you're kind of remodeling things. So what does the company do?
Well, we do a lot of things. We primarily model the network. And what I mean by that is we create a software model by which you can investigate how your network's been put together and what it's good at defending. We do a calculation, a vulnerability calculation, or we can prioritize your vulnerabilities in a context of the network. So there are really three big things. We do visibility. We identify all the assets that you need in that network, which is, believe it or not, there's a lot of visibility software out there, but it always misses something. We always find it. There's compliance, obviously getting to be a bigger and bigger deal now than ever. And then there's risk management. And that's when we do the vulnerability in the network context and give you a prioritized list of what you need to fix and how to make it better.
And
so that's really
are an enterprise space, SMB mid-market?
Mostly large enterprises with complex networks, people that are migrating to the cloud, people that have software-defined networks, and people that have wired networks, which, believe it or not, everybody's got one of those.
Yep. And about how many customers are you serving now today?
We have 250 customers.
Okay.
A large part of our base is U.S. government. They represented about 100 in those 250. We're in all the intel agencies, all the military, and most of the civilian side of the government. So they're a huge part of our business.
Interesting. Okay, so how, obviously, about a month ago or a month and a half ago now at this point, COVID hits the United States, right? And so, a lot of SaaS CEOs are being impacted. When you last came on the show back in, I believe it was September of last year, so a couple months ago, you'd articulated, 250 customers, ACVs in the 200,000-ish range, so people can kind of back into your revenue. You're owned by private equity companies, so they probably can provide you some cushion. But how are you thinking about the potential, recession and virus specifically?
Yeah, well, being a former VC, having lived through, this is my fourth sort of capital market crisis, if you will, regardless of how it got started. One cannot take enough precaution. There is no penalty to being extra careful. So we have, in fact, even before this really became top level news, starting in first part of March, we started thinking about Q2. We expect Q2 to be down 20-25%. We have asked our employees to take a reduction in pay, which they have. We are continuing to support our existing customers and encouraging more expansion, more face-to-face time. And so we've tried to keep the level, as we used to say in the VC business, keep the bridge at the same height and lower the water so that the gap to get the ship through stays the same. We'll see how that goes. We have increased our safety buffer in our cash and balance sheet capabilities. And our investor has been very supportive. They've not put another dollar in, not necessary. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get through it on our own.
So about 2 months ago, pre-virus, you obviously had projections on current cash in the bank. And if we had no new revenue, how many months of runway you have. Now, post-virus, how long have you extended your runway to?
We've given ourselves 2 quarters.
Okay.
Without revenue, it's about 2 quarters. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And so, walk me through the communication during this time is critical for any SaaS CEO with their team. How did you have the conversation with your team to ask them, to basically be furloughed, a reduction in pay?
Well, no furlough, just reduction in pay.
Okay.
Part of my strategy was to keep everybody employed, to keep everybody working on the problems, to keep supporting our customer base. That's really, really essential so that we get through this time. We'll survive this time to thrive on the other side. So yes, frequent communication. So twice a week, one of my senior management teams puts out a memo. I put out something on Friday. Actually, I switched to making video conferences, which everyone just loved. It's a little bit more personal. You can see where I live and how I operate. It's been quite effective. And that is really what it's all about. Transparency right now is going to be job one. So telling everybody we expect a downdraft, asking, sort of making them all part of the team. Can I just give you one little 30-second story? So we have customers that have a lot of operations in India. One very large corporate customer on the East Coast of the United States was doing an upgrade in India last night, and it failed. There was a problem, and the phone rang at midnight. And one of my tech support guys picked up the phone, as he's supposed to, and he did. And he worked all night to get these guys up and running. Turned out our software was all good. They had done some sort of configuration problem on their end, but it took them a while to sleuth it out and make it happen. That's the kind of dedication you need, and it's the kind of commitment that my team has to keeping our customers up and running and as secure as possible in this environment.
And last night would have been April 2nd because we're recording this here on April 3rd.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly right. I got up this morning and there was an email, here's the case, here's what happened. And Gary did a great job.
Well, so Ray, how many full-time members of the team are there today?
150 on my payroll here in the United States, Canada, and Japan, and UK. But we have about 50 people also offshore in various organizations in India and Vietnam.
How many?
So about 200 all in.
How many engineers?
Here in the US, about 53.
What about total?
About 90.
90, okay. And how many quota-carrying sales reps?
I have 16 commercial. I have 8 federal. So what's that? 16 and 8 is 24.
Yep. So here's my question to you. That memo you sent out last Friday, give us a little taste of, what did that exactly sound like? Like, did everyone take the same cut, or did different roles take different cuts? Or
no, everybody took the same.
Okay.
My goal was that we're all going to sacrifice a little bit in order to survive. There are no special dispensations. If someone's got an issue, they can bring it up and we'll deal with it. But to my amazement, interestingly, one of the other people that was affected by this reduction, her husband had just been laid off. So the fact that we didn't lay her off, she was ecstatic. The downside right now, the rumors, not rumors, just people talking stuff. There's a lot of bad news going on right now. So I figured keep people employed and keep my customers up and running, those are two very wonderful outcomes.
Can I ask you, what cut on a percent basis did you ask everyone to take? Are we talking like 50% or 10% or?
No, it's more to the, I don't want to put the number specifically out there, but it's more to the latter, not the former.
Okay. So more like 10-ish, not like 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for how long?
Well, we don't know.
So you just told them indefinitely until further notice.
Yeah, until further notice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let me throw some other scenarios at you, because I want to take advantage of your expertise being inside of other companies via your VC days.
Sure.
Some other CEOs I've had on that are maybe around your scale, maybe slightly smaller, have done some other things. So let me give you an example. One of them basically so their last VC round valued them at $100 million. They took 2% of the company, or 2% of the unallocated option pool for employees, and basically said, hey, can we pay 30% of your salary, instead of paying you cash, award you stock, so that when you come out on the other side of this, everyone now is a part owner of the company because they took equity instead of stock. Do you like that approach?
I do like that approach. If you've got the kind of equity pool to do with, and a lot of VC pools, the pools are quite large. But as you know, my backer, STG, is a private equity group, and our pool isn't that big. We have already, in fact, done that. An issue with that is you don't know when it's going to end. So if I give you something now to take a pay cut and you come back 3 months from now, well, I need more because you did this 3 months. So you get into this slippery slope thing. That's the only concern I have for that strategy.
Let me give you another strategy people are pursuing. They're trying to say, okay, we can only make investments now. We can't take the big bets with like 3-year payoffs. We have to just focus on what generates cash today. And because of that, I asked some people, like, if you are laying people off, what order are you doing it? And the general pattern I'm seeing is people are laying off unramped salespeople first because they're not yet hitting quota, producing that. So that's number one. Number two are engineers that are working on big dream R&D projects with maybe like a 2 or 3 year potential return. And then after that, it's, kind of other stuff. Do you kind of agree with that pattern if people are pursuing layoffs?
Well, There's only two things to do in a startup company: you make product or sell product. And to reduce either of those seems to me a little foolhardy. If you have to, I would actually reduce the engineering, because you really do need that top line flowing in.
Even unramped.
Yeah, I mean, even so, 6 months from now they're going to be ramped. This is going to be a tough time, so they're going to actually learn faster. They're going to be a little bit more desperate in their actions. So I think the sales people will actually respond better than the engineers would. Yeah, that's just, based on that case you gave me, that's how I would view it. Okay. If I had to cut heads as a VC in one of my portfolio companies, that's what I would do. That's not what we did at Redseal, and that's not what I would ever do at Redseal.
Yeah. Let's roar back to Redseal here for a second. So has anything changed since 6 months ago when we chatted in terms of your target, or are you still seeing ACVs kind of in the 200,000, 300,000 sort of range?
No, yeah, actually, that's all running about the same. One of the things that we've implemented, and we started this research last year, as I said, we model your network. So we create this software model that you can test and do all kinds of cool things with your network. But what we learned along the way, that the world has not done a good job with just basic cyber fundamentals. So we have not taken our product apart, but we have emphasized the steps along the way to get to that model, so that each phase delivers value and delivers a unique report. Inventory, for example, endpoint inventory, network segmentation. These are all things we can do prior to that model, because the model is hard to do. That's a very complicated calculation. So we have broken our value journey, if you will, for a customer into pieces. And that's what we've done. And that's, so far, it was Q1, it was very successful. We actually exceeded plan in Q1.
And are you still pricing? Like I always ask about how people are driving expansion revenue. Yeah. Are you still pricing? And your first customer back in 2004 was actually Apple, which is cool. But are you still pricing by number of routers? So like 90,000 routers might be a $2 to $3 million a year contract?
Yeah, exactly. We still buy the unit. Yeah, we still buy the, what is it? Buy the drink, whatever that old rule. Yeah.
So what, in terms of year over year growth from 2019 to when we wrap up 2020, with your virus changes included, do you think the business will be flat? Are you still projecting some growth or no?
No, we think it'll be flat.
Okay.
Sitting here today, and given that, I have adjusted our expense structure to make it out the other side.
Mm-hmm. And so how does and I forget the name, how does Symphony respond when you come back to them and say, guys, listen, we're going to be flat this year?
They say, please, that's great, survive.
Okay, so that's their general feed.
Yeah, one of the things that's happened, I think, for a lot of people with the virus, and I've got a few other portfolio companies, that their thesis may have changed. Our thesis has remained the same. This digital resilience concept of, being ready for the attack, being prepared for the attack, knowing where the vulnerabilities are and all that sort of stuff, that remains. And so STG is thrilled that our thesis has not been altered by the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal.
Let me put out an alternative here, which is, has SPG come and said, listen, Ray, I want you to ramp up M&A activity. There are potentially cheap acquisitions we can go do now, and we'll put extra money behind you. Are you ramping any of that up?
Yeah, you want to see my list?
Yeah. Well, tell me how you're building the list. How are you thinking about it?
The list has been in existence for a while. You're right. There could be some opportunities, and we've had that conversation. So I think once we get through Q2, there's so much uncertainty right now. Their hair is on fire. I think if the summer settles out, the market settles down, I think that's when we'll start thinking more seriously about it. But there are clearly a couple of technologies we'd love to tuck into the Redseal story. It would be perfect for us. So we're not going to do anything now. It's just too nutty right now.
All right. But someone would say, hey, during the nuttiest time is when you get the cheapest discounts or the biggest discounts.
Yeah. I'm not going to take advantage of people when they're down. I'm going to make sure it's a win-win.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But by the way, I don't want to phrase it as taking advantage of people. There are plenty of companies where, even though they would sell for a much lower price today and be totally happy doing it because of the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let me circulate back, because I know my audience will be wondering, to just cybersecurity in general, right?
Yeah.
It will continue to be over the next many months as the presidential election in the States come up.
Yes.
Russian interference in U.S. elections, like this sort of stuff. Can you make any comments on this? I mean, is it a real thing? Is it not a real thing? Do you feel strongly about how the government's prepared?
It's a very real thing. I feel very strongly we are not prepared. I actually have customers that are dealing with some of this international interference, and they're seeing it in their networks, commercial and government. So it's a very real thing. And we're all working at home, and the government doesn't everything's being pushed. So if the election gets crushed, I'm just not sure, crushed meaning calendar-wise, I'm just not sure how they're going to sort it out. But it is a very real thing. And I have, we have sent a lot of ideas in and so forth about how to help secure local things. It's a problem.
What is a foreign, don't name the government, what is a foreign government right now doing that you're seeing just be extremely effective against U.S. presidential candidates or current government employees?
I don't have any presidential candidate information or any of that sort of stuff. But what they're doing, they are putting in observers, malware that sits and observes primarily, being able to alter routing, for example. Just like what Sony did, at the Sony situation, they put in malware that had a back door that was shipping every email out to somebody else. So it gives you get intel that way, you get information, and that's the kind of stuff we're seeing.
Interesting, and that's exactly why people are paying you, right? Is to prevent this kind of thing.
Yeah, or to at least to identify how they're getting out so they can cut it off.
Yeah,
that's
interesting.
What we do primarily. And we're all about pathways.
All right, Ray, let's wrap up with the famous 5. Number 1, you reading any other new books besides the last one was Duty by Robert Gates?
Yes, I am reading Facebook, The Inside Story, Stephen Levy. I just got it and I just started reading it.
Very good. All right, number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
The CEO of Zoom. Been reading a lot about him. Pretty interesting man.
Yeah. Eric. By the way, he's going to have to deal with this headline that you're seeing pop up, which are people spying on. I mean, by the way, my developers don't let me use Zoom because they know how Zoom structures their servers and they have serious security concerns.
Yes. That's why I'm studying, because he's going to figure it out.
Yeah. Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building the company?
Zoom right now.
Yeah. Number 4, how many hours of sleep are you getting?
I'm getting pretty good sleep, about 6.5, 7.
Okay, fair enough. And situation, married, single, kiddos?
I'm my wife and I live here in Portola Valley. Our New York adult son, who's in the musical theater business, when New York shut down, he flew out here. So we're getting to spend some wonderful time with him.
Oh, I love that. So 1 kid, and how old are you?
Me, I'm 65.
65. But we had a birthday over the past 6 months. Happy late birthday.
Yes, in December, yes.
All right, last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
What do I wish my 20-year-old self knew? Man, that the stock market would be at 20,000.
Guys, there you have it. Redseal. We talked with founder Ray Rothrock on how they're planning for the virus, how they're continuing to serve their 250 enterprise accounts. Specifically, a lot of them, over 100 of them, are government accounts in the States, looking right now at a lot of election interference related things, backdoor pathways. They're on top of it. Additionally, because they're backed by obviously private equity, looking right now at what their M&A flow might look like. They'll start to kind of ramp up and look at that at the end of Q2 when some of this uncertainty dies down. Ray, thanks for taking us to the top.
You bet, Nathan. Good to see you. You be safe and healthy.
You too. Bye-bye. You guys know I fight like heck to get these data points for you from these CEOs that rarely do these kinds of shows. If you want more shows like this, make sure you subscribe right now. We're trying to get 10,000 YouTube subscribers by the end of September here, 2019. And it would mean the world to me if you clicked now to subscribe. Additionally, I've got 2 more great interviews for you. If you want more data points from the world's leading SaaS CEOs, click and watch one of them right now.